That then drives me to the next question, really. How have you been able to scale your business to the next level?
I can go on this one if you like, Ginny, but
I think you should. I think you're on a roll. Yeah.
I know, but also I think since we started, I've been ploughed in, and I've been very fortunate to be full time in the business,
exactly.
Which does have a massive effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two things, Raheem. It's nice and simple for me. Is learning what a joint venture is. Oh my God, was that a life changer? And the second one is how to work with investors and how to provide a service for other people to help them. My mission in life is to help as many people as I can to get financially free, in whatever way that is. If they want to make it a passive way, if they want to learn themselves and go off and do it themselves, they want to work with us in a JV. But to scale the business for us, because bizarrely, the deal sourcing, we've peaked and then we've slowed because we didn't want to put somebody into during COVID to do what we were doing. So we've slowed that side of the business to extend other sides of the business. So for example, now we're working with an HMO management company called Apex. And, you know, we met, and when I first came to Cleethorpes, and the guy was a hotelier, a guy called John Warnes. He was a hotelier which he bought on a lease option for £1. And I said that to my family and they went, yeah, whatever. I just remember him saying it. And I said, I'll tell you what, and they bought all the furniture in that hotel for £1 on a lease option. And, you know, he was somebody who had gone through with a different training provider. He was built our values aligned, first of all, Raheem, and it was very obvious from the start. We're different people, but the values aligned. And also he was somebody who built his business on reciprocity, about helping as many other people get what they want. He was going to get what he wants. So he was a local businessman. He reached out to me. He helped me. He gave me lodgings to start with, and he helped familiarize myself with the area. And we ended up JVing together. And we managed to scale the sourcing side with that. And then we started to scale his business. And now 4 years or three and a half years down the line, Ginny, I think it is, do you know, we're now looking to merge, or we've got to be careful that word merge. Fuse, I think, was the one we came up with today. We've had an awesome meeting this morning about how we can actually set up an entity to develop this end-to-end service. And of course, we need to run it past solicitors and accountants. But for us, it's about learning how to work with people, how to help with reciprocity. And it's not all about you. It's all about this. The reciprocity has been huge for us, Raheem. And it's the same now. We offer investors that come to the area. John has come from an IT background, which IT skills evade me a little bit. It's a development area, may I say, for myself. But he's got a very good presence in the area, and we get a lot of investors come, and we offer them half an hour free. And people go,
fantastic.
Well, yeah, but people go, yeah, but what's the catch? There isn't a catch. Do you know, we might speak to 10 people and we might help 9 of them and we never see them again. And then the 10th person will come to us and say, actually, I really like your setup. I'd like to come to your offices. We do investor orientation events, and actually they might end up investing with us for the next 10 years.
Fantastic. That's it.
That's just a simple way of giving back and helping people on. I think the one thing that I would really like to be able to do is keep a track of who goes off and does this. And, you know, the people that you help, you know, I set a number. I'd like to help 1,000 people get financially free. And I'd love to go in, and I'd like to go to every school in the country with a flyer and just stick it in the teachers' pigeonholes. I really would.
Do it, man. Do it. I like that. Yeah, I like that. So basically, same here. That is my mission, to impact as many people as possible. That's why I do my free event. I go live on Facebook sometimes as well, social media platforms, and I have free strategic call as well. You can call me, ask me anything to do with properties, and then that way I can advise you. You know, I don't have to sell anything to you. As long as I impact you, that really helps. I learned this also from Tony Robbins. He said when he was mentoring me, was coaching me, he said, you know, it's not about you. It's what you do for someone else. It's the value you've added in someone else. As long as you're adding value, you can get the financial reward abundantly. So I literally take that one word and literally use it. Whether it's properties, I go and add value. Human being, if I meet you, I add value. To my landlords, I do the same thing. As I said, reciprocity is very good. Most of the deals I get it from landlord referring me to other landlords. Or the deals I get is from a deal, someone I resolved or helped that refer me to these people. As long as you're adding value, basically you will get the return. But it's not about you. Concentrate about adding value in someone else's life, you would always get that reward. So I like that idea that you've actually implemented. I'm telling you now, if you're implementing it, stick to it. It will transform you, transform the people around you. You're going out there impacting 1,000 people. I look forward to it, and I would like to see all the reviews on that to see how we get that going. So Jenny, then, I've been approached by so many people. Most people, they are female. They're saying, "Oh, property is a male-dominated industry." Okay, what advice do you have for females that are thinking about property investing and they're worried about it being a male-dominated industry?
I think that's a fear. I think that is a fear that isn't necessarily true. I've been on some great training courses and been mixed and networked with lots and lots of really inspirational female property investors who've been absolutely smashing it in the world of property, and I actually don't think that it is male dominated. Well, maybe it's male dominated, but I think there is lots and lots of females out there who are doing really, really great things.
Absolutely.
And yes, certainly not to be afraid of it. Definitely don't be afraid of it. And
Okay.
that's all.
We're mentored by an amazing lady,
Yeah, absolutely.
Jackie Tomes, and
Yeah,
Jackie and Dave
yeah.
Tomes, and do you know, she's absolutely inspirational. And I think it's an excuse, Raheem. I really do. And
I think so as well.
The voices in your head are going,
I don't think
it's
it's a real thing. I don't think it's necessarily about having a good business background either, because I've certainly not come from a business background.
Yeah.
I think it is just about the desire to want to learn and the desire to actually want to succeed, and the ability to be able to get completely out of your comfort zone, and the desire to be better than you can ever be at anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you are rightly, you're rightly to actually point that out. But people feel like it's a male-dominated industry. That's what I've told most of my students. Basically, the most successful ones happens to be females. And the ones that are most successful, and the people that came from ridiculously long hours jobs, like doctors, nurses, pharmacists, they're doing really, really well in my mentorship programs. So again, they're all females, funny enough. So I wonder then why people are thinking about that. But having that coming from yourself is another reassurance to the female viewers or followers. Then they can do it themselves. There's no difference of you being a male or female. We're all exactly the same people. Just take that action, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Jeremy always says to me a lot about imposter syndrome, and I think maybe that's what a lot of people actually feel is the fear that they're not worthy, or that they, I can't be a property investor, or that's something that other people do. That's what really good people who are good at business do. That's what people who've got lots of money do. That's what people who like going out networking do. That's what people who, and that's not for me. That's not my thing. And I think that's probably it, as much as the fact that it's a male dominated sector, that it's actually more about your own mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So this the next what does deal sources know? You are basically you're buying properties, you're doing them yourself, Jeremy, and as well as you are actually sourcing them to property investors. So what does deal sources know that buy-to-let investors do not know?
That's a really good question.
Well, I can give you the example of this, because I was a buy-to-let investor in Cornwall, and I built up a portfolio. And after this, but there was no science behind it. I didn't know how to analyze a deal. I just knew that I'd have to put this much into it and I would get that much out. And these were the payments every month, and that was my cash flow. But I didn't know the science of actually pulling together numbers and actually how to purchase a property, working with a broker. And, deal sources, I didn't even want to be a deal sourcer, right? And there you are. That is public, out on your podcast now. I didn't want to be a deal sourcer. I didn't see myself as a deal sourcer. I didn't even know what they did to start with. And after the first training program, I come out and we looked at where I was. You know, I'd gone through a divorce. I'd lost a lot of my portfolio, and it was about starting again. And actually, it was the best thing that I could possibly do, because as a deal sourcer, I just went out and I worked with a co-sourcing company to start with. And Ginny and I selected 2 co-sourcing companies based on values. And we just went and got damn good at viewing properties and finding the right properties, rinsing and repeating, analysing the deals, working in the different patches. And we realised after a period of time that actually we were spreading ourselves too thin. So we ended up saying, right, rather than doing 4 patches quite well, we're going to go to 1 patch and we're going to dominate it. And we're going to go to all the networking events in that area to get in with the older landlords. And we ended up, bizarrely, after the first, I stayed in an Airbnb and the TV was on the blink in the Airbnb. And I phoned the guy up, and he came around, scruffy as you like, and he fixed the TV. And he said, oh, what do you do? And of course, you say you're a property investor. He said, oh, funny you should say, I've got a property to sell. Fantastic. Perhaps I could catch up tomorrow for a cup of coffee and we can have a look, and perhaps I could find an investor for you. And he said, oh, what's the catch? No catch. There's no charge to yourself. Anyway, it turns out he had 17 properties to sell, including 5 HMOs and a guest house. And, do you know, and at the time, I didn't have any investors. It was literally the first month there. And I went back to, you know, our training provider at the time, Samuel Leeds, and you know, I went and told everybody that I've got this deal. I told absolutely everybody. And you know, there was an 18-year-old who had 4 investors, including 2 brothers, which were expats working in the Middle East, who were looking to get back in. And it took 12 months to complete, but he brought JV together. He brought the investors. And we completed the deal, and it was worth 65,000 to us, and it was a 3-point-something million. And it was a belief. And Rahim, do you know, I'd say I work on mindset, and it is so important. But that was the kickstart, and it was almost unbelievable,
wasn't it? It was massive. I can remember you phoning me back in Cornwall, and you phoned me saying, "I've got this guy who's got a portfolio of properties to sell. What do we do?" Almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
and that was
well done.
Yeah,
well done.
learned on the job, and it was the universe, wasn't it? I think.
Wow, that is a really kicker for me, because again, we've got people saying, oh, deal sourcing doesn't really work, and how much can you make in a deal? So if you'd be able to summarize that for us, then Jeremy, how much do you reckon a good deal you've sourced will go for right now in the current market climate? And if you could just give us an estimate of how much you've made, the highest you've made in one deal since you started your journey.
Yeah, well, that's a nice, easy one. We specialise in HMOs and passing HMOs on, and you know, the most that we've charged for one HMO is £10,000, and that was just an amazing deal, below market value. You know, it was one that we knew had to be taken back to brick anyway, so it was in a bit of a touchy state, and they got it at just a steal price. It was one that we were trying to purchase ourselves, but at the end of the day, we passed it on to somebody else. We average for
just
HMOs
touch on
around,
that then, basic. Just to touch on that before you get to the next question. So you made £10,000 in one source deal.
Unsourced deal, yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Wow. There you go. This is a real life example. We're not making the stories here, right?
No, it's not made up.
I'm not doing a video here to say, okay, you can get this and that. You're hearing it from one of the biggest deal sources out there. He made a £10,000 in one deal source, in one property deal. Imagine then, if you've got a couple of days a month, you're literally on 20K, right? So fantastic. Well done, Jeremy. Really impressed.
Rahim, thank you. And it's about putting your processes together and rinsing and repeating and telling everybody what you do. And on average, we will charge around £5,000 for a C3 to C4 conversion property. And we will make sure that you can convert it, You can make sure that the rooms have the correct square meterage or square footage if you're older like me. And it's about making sure that we keep our reputation of being able to work with investors and not over-promising and under-delivering, but making sure that they've got the basics. And we've analysed it. We used to do all the analysis for the investors, but we know now that investors will come in all sorts of shapes and forms. Some want to pay with cash, and I could sit there and go, why would you want to do that? But I don't anymore. If you want to pay with cash, you do what you like. Some work on yield, some work on ROIs, and it all depends on how they do it. So we give them the basic figures so they can do their own analysis. We make sure there's video footage of it. We make sure that all the documentation is in place. If it's an up and running HMO or if it's got grandfather rights. And on average, we will charge around 5,000 or 6,000 for that. Wow. Single lets, we tend to charge between 3,000 and 4,000 for single lets. And we have a lot of investors now coming to us. One, we've charged £3,000 more recently because he's bought 10, and he bought 10 over a period of time, not in one hit. And I know that he'll be back because those 10 have made him financially free. And, he's actually a Cornishman. And, he's somebody who came to us because we put ourselves out on social media. We do the Facebook Lives, like you said, and he came to us and said, is it Grimsby? Have I got it right? Grimsby. And he'd heard something on the grapevine through politics, actually, because Grimsby and Cleethorpes have got their first Conservative MP since the war. Now, he happened to come from the Conservative Party, and he'd heard some good things. He looked into it, and then he'd seen me, and they married the two together. It probably was 2 or 3 hours discussing. We send out an investor pack. He then came up to the area, and he goes on one of the investor orientation events. And it's all about know, like, and trust, Raheem. And back to the original question, because I think there was a question back there, which was the buy to let. I was wondering if you'd come back. Buy to let to the deal sourcing. It's just the science. It's just the science of putting together the basic facts to allow an investor to make an informed choice. And fortunately, with me in the business full time, I viewed hundreds of properties. I videoed them all. My Dropbox is busting at the seams. I tell you what, with all sorts of deals from all sorts of patches. But
I think one of the key things, Jess, sorry to interrupt you there, but I think one of the key things is that a buy-to-let investor might not necessarily have the knowledge of the area that they want to invest in. And I think being a deal sourcer on the ground in an area which you know and which you really understand is one of the things that the investor is actually paying for, isn't it, within that source deal. So, and you've got contacts with local landlords, you've got contacts with people who are selling portfolios, and there's contacts that you pick up through being on the ground, and that's what the person who is buying the property, the investor, is actually paying for. That's the service.
You're absolutely right. It's about the patch. You're not going with an online valuation that has become your patch, so in and out of that. But that is the thing that the person is paying for, rather the actual deal. And then obviously they will do their due diligence as well to understand whether that deal works for them. But congratulations in what you're doing. Well done. Keep doing that. Your enthusiasm and energy is what draws me to you. When I saw your video with Samuel Leeds, what really keeps you going without losing your energy and enthusiasm?
Is that just to me, or because I know
that will be to you, Jeremy? Jeremy, because you want to have the interview.
Raheem, I don't know what it is inside me, but I've got a drive to get somewhere. And I think for half of my life, I wasn't aware of what it exactly was. I thought it was money to start with, and I've made a lot of mistakes by just chasing the pound. For me, it's more than that now, and it is I've got 3 kids, I've mentioned them before. I would love to create something that they can come and join if they wish. And for them to be able to do that, they need, and I don't like the term skin in the game, but they would need to be able to offer something or go and train and provide something. But I would love to be able to give that. And I've got this burning passion inside of me, which I know it isn't about the money now. It's more than that. And do you know, this whole thing about serving others, do you know, I found it a little bit cheesy when I first heard it. Serving others, why would I do it? I'm chasing the quid. I'm chasing the quid.
Yeah.
And I get it now. I do totally get it now. And it's about a bigger picture. And that takes me back to teaching, because teachers are the biggest servers ever. Do you know, they put themselves out there. They're on stage for 6 lessons every single day, a club at lunchtime, a club after school, and you are serving people that have to be there. That's the thing. They have to be there. And I really want to work with people. I'm not trying to convince anybody anymore. If somebody wants to come to me and they know that they are ready for a change, or they are interested, that's the people that I want to work with now. That's my burning, that really, I've always had it. I've always known it's in there, and I think I'm starting to really get to grips with what it is. I've translated it. I understand it a little bit more. And that for me was going back to the education. You know, I happened to go through with Samuel Leeds, and I just remember him, you know, talking about personal development. What's personal development? I hadn't read a book by the time I was 44. Wow. That's it. I was a teacher, and that's awful. That's absolutely awful. But it was almost like an awakening at that time, and realizing that, yeah, a lot of this is just skill-based. It's just a matter of getting in good routines, chipping away at stuff, and that I wasn't abnormal. I couldn't help but think about the bigger picture. And a lot of people do that. But then for those people to be successful, they've got to try and work with other people like Ginny, who will get stuff done and actually get on with it. Yeah, just stop. This needs to be done now. Get shit done. And I think that encapsulates what you were saying as well, Rahim, about how you scale businesses. It's people. It is people. And I happen to love people. I just love. And Ginny, I'm not saying this to have a crack, but we have a difference of opinion on networking, because put me in a group of people and I'd be ping-ponging around.
You can tell, can't you? I don't think you need to explain this.
And I don't know why. And I've almost felt guilty for saying it, whereas Ginny feels less natural in that environment. And I think it's finally knowing what floats my boat, finally knowing what that passion is inside, and learning not to regret the past, because it's got you to where you are today, and absolutely loving the journey. Right.
Yeah, that's good, because you are complementing each other. If you are that sort of person and Jenny's not that sort of person, so obviously you can complement each other. That way, then you'll be able to drive the business in a way that it takes you to the next level. So it's a very good skill to have there. So you did talk about a bit of hard times. They're definitely inspired by someone who overcome hard time. Do you mind sharing a time or event that was really, really hard time for you, and how you overcame it?
Yep. Ginny, I don't want to. I tell you what, I get criticised for. I can do this one if you like.
I don't criticise you. No, you go. No, I'm absolutely fine. I'm fine. You go. Okay. I will chip in and offer my words of wisdom along the way.
Brilliant. All right. So my journey started back in. My grandfather left me a few £1,000s, which I bought a buy-to-let property, and then I refinanced because that skipped up. And here you are, Rahim, in Cornwall, which is a high spot of property values. I bought a 2-up, 2-down cottage, which I rented for, I think, about £500 a month back then, and that cost me £27,000. Wow! Back in that, so I was 24, so that's 26 years ago. So 96, I think it was. And property prices back then were just ridiculously low. That's why I said, why isn't everybody doing this? Anyway, I bought up and built a small portfolio of properties, but I didn't understand the drive inside me, other than I needed to do some more business. And I set up a development company called Penstrasso Developments, which was my grandfather's company name. And it meant a lot, and for me. And I went into business with a local builder, who was a good friend of mine, and we bought old shop fronts with maisonettes above and knocked them into 3 separate flats. And we targeted a place called Bodmin, which is near where I used to live in St Austell in Cornwall. And we did 3 lots of these over a period of 12 months. And we did a lot of work. I had a tool belt, I had a tipper van, I was living the dream. And I'd left teaching. I built up the courage to leave teaching the first time. Now, this was back in 2004, and we carried on with this. And good friends of mine were saying, Jack, go steady. Don't bite off more than you can chew. There's something big around the corner. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, don't worry. Look, we've made this on this. We've made that on that. We've kept 2 of those flats, and we're building our own portfolio. And we bought a big place looking out to sea in a place called Port Mellon near Mevergizy. And it was a flip, and we only needed to spend 3 or 4 months doing it. We got a bridging loan to do the work. We had a building team that came in and did it. And we were looking to, we got a buyer off plan with a high-end estate agency. And the day before exchange of contracts, the credit crunch hit. It was literally, Rahim, the day before. And the credit crunch hit, and everything, the bottom fell out of that market overnight. And it was Northern Rock, and it was this, that, and the banks on a run, and property taking a hit. And because we were in quite a niche market there, it was one of those where it was a luxury place where people didn't need to buy it if they didn't. And we ended up taking a hit on it. And it wasn't enough to bankrupt me, but it was enough for me to, and we sold it at a loss. So we got out, we exited, but at a loss. And at that time, I didn't have a property education. And I'll tell you what, I was terrified, if I'm honest. I had 3 young kids, and we had a house with a big mortgage. And I'd done everything that employees do, and I was living off 110% of my, even at that stage. And I went back to teaching, and every part of me was saying, find a way, but I wasn't strong enough. Ginny and I used the analogy about the crabs in the bucket. And if one crab starts to climb out of the bucket, the other crabs will look up and they'll pull that crab back down. Now, I'm not saying my family don't love me, but my family, and especially my parents, were terrified at that point because they listened to the news and everything was falling apart. And you're a teacher, go back to what you know. And I didn't feel like a teacher. And that was the toughest time of my life, to have escaped and to started my dream. And I did it without education, but I learned a lot during those 4 years. And I went back, and fortunately I hadn't burnt any bridges, and my senior leaders I got on with very well, and they created a role for me. But it was never quite, Rahim, it was never quite there. And that was the toughest time. And following that, my marriage broke down, and it was quite a tough time. But the learning from that, and I'm a big believer in success or learning, and because I felt like a failure for a long time at that point, and I was looking out the window at the beautiful sunset and just seeing the dirty marks on the window. I could only see negative. And it was something then that, I met Ginny, and I knew I'd started a network marketing business, which got me reading books. That it started me on my personal development journey. And I am so grateful to Tom Marshall, who set me, and Barry Richardson, who set me, an ex-deputy head teacher who set me on that journey. And that led me to a Rich Dad, Poor Dad course I did online, and then eventually to the Samuel Leeds, where I got the education, the realization of, oh my God, if I'd known this 4 years ago, if I'd known this, that in 2007 was the best time, or 2008 was the best time to be securing properties.
Exactly.
Was to be owning property, buying property, working with investors' money. And if I knew that, but I didn't, so I can't beat myself up for it. However, if I had my time around again, that's how I got over it. And
fantastic.
I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, well done for doing that. Even me recently, not long ago, when COVID hits, around March, April, when everything was in standstill, property prices dipped a little bit. That's when I went to buy properties. People were thinking the world was about to end. I was buying properties. So by the time I finished renovating this property, for example, one of the properties in South Wales, I bought it for £80,000, spent about 25,000 to do it up. By the time I finished the work, the property was worth £140,000.
Nice.
Right? By that, everybody was scared. I went with the quote with Warren Buffett's quote: when everybody is fearful, it's the time you become greedy. When they're greedy, then you become fearful. So I used that. As soon as that happens, I said, I'm not staying at home, right? I'm gonna get my business card. When I get stopped by police, I tell them I have to work. I can't work from home. So I was able to close few deals, and all of the deals are no money left in deals plus more money to me. So again, these are the times. If you'd known what you know now in 2008, that would have been an opportunity for you. By then, I wasn't even thinking about. I think I was in college then by then. But I like the way you actually overcame that. So really, really well done to you on that. And again, Jenny, do you have anything to add on to that?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't. I mean, property, like I say, I haven't had any property stories to tell or anything else that I feel can add to that. But thank you for asking.
All right, last question before we go to do the fun quick fire round question. In the property investment world, the business world, social media, I see the first world problem is overwhelm. So many social media channels, everything getting thrown at you. See people driving big cars, sharing their lavish life, buying expensive houses, left, right, and center. So how do you deal with overwhelm? Because, if you manage a business, there's so many things happening, you get distracted. So how are you able to get rid of that overwhelm and stay focused in what you're doing right now?
Now, Ginny, you could definitely answer this one.
I am the guru of I think overwhelm is a real thing, and I think it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed.
Burnout.
And like you say, there's so much influence from outside resources, outside areas, people that you mix with, social media, stuff on the news, the own pressure that you put on yourself, the expectations that you put on yourself, all contributes to massive overwhelm. And for me, I've always been very good at being able to actually switch off and to actually say, right, no, that's it. We need to stop. We actually need to just not go to work today, or we need to have a day off, or we need to get away for the weekend. And it's usually with Jeremy kicking and screaming, saying, I can't, I've got to go to the office, I've got to go to the office, I can't. And that has been quite difficult actually, because we have got slightly different views on that. But I think it is so important just to be able to actually switch off and take yourself completely away from whatever it is, your business, your work, your home, or whatever, even for 24 hours, and just to get away, even for a day, and just make that absolute supreme effort not to talk about work, not to think about work. And it doesn't actually take long to start feeling human again. But overwhelm can be incredibly dangerous, because it just leads to burnout, and then you're not effective. You can't actually see the wood for the trees, and you can't make progress, you can't make decisions, you just become completely stuck.
Wow, fantastic. Thanks very much for that. Jeremy, if you could briefly let us know how you've been able to stay focused in what you do.
I'll be honest with you, I'm sat here very calmly now, and I can say, looking back, it's been tough. It really has. I think the universe sent Ginny to me, because and this isn't sarcastic, Ginny, in any way. She is awesome at creating memories and getting you to enjoy the journey. What is the point of busting your guts if you can't enjoy what you're doing? And I understand the principle and the philosophy behind that, but I find it incredibly difficult to do. And everything, Rahim, I'm sure you're aware, comes at a cost. And that drive that's in me, and I feel it in my chest, it's like a burning, and I just need to get out. And I love progress. For me, the biggest thing is to see something moving. And you know, John Warren's our business partner. He says property investment is like pushing a boulder up a hill. And you know, if you put one hand on the boulder, you know, you can move it at one pace. You put two hands on the boulder, you can move it again. If you take both hands off and have a break. And that's the philosophy I kind of lived by. Whereas if you get 4 sets of hands on there, you know, John and his partner Amanda can go off and have a holiday, and we'll carry on going with it. But one could I say as well, the other thing with overwhelm is there are skills that you can learn that help you dealing with that. Do you know how many people sit at work and try and get something done, and they'll leave all the, what are they called, where they come up, WhatsApp messages come up, emails come up, they come up. Do you know, focus, time block time into your week and actually get that focus.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've done a meeting, allocate time then when you're going to do the actions for that meeting. And when you do the actions for that meeting, switch your bloody phone off, switch all the other things off that come in, lock the door, make sure you're in a place where you're not going to be disturbed, and get that done. And actually move on. And there's so many other skills that we've learned from our mentors who've been, you know, revolutionary, because especially starting out with a new business, it's all about energy. You want to keep it going and you want to take everything on. You can't say no to things. Well, you can. And there is a skill to that. And, you know, we've been very lucky that we came across them and enabled us to start learning those skills. But 1, the universe has sent me Ginny. Two, I now enjoy the journey. 3, learn the skills for time blocking. And
fantastic. Thanks very much for answering that. Quick fire round questions, very briefly, if you could, please. Your worst advice you remember receiving?
Oh God!
I got it.
Go.
Can I start?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah,
I'd
like to go first. Okay, I can't tell you which family member it was, but he said, whatever you do, pay your mortgage off as fast as you possibly can.
Right, okay. How about yourself, Ginny?
Oh, I can't think. I'll have to come back to you.
No problem at all. Okay.
I'm not good at quickfire. I need to process things.
Right, okay. Best advice you remember receiving? Jenny, best advice you remember receiving?
Best advice, recent best advice, just leap of faith, take a leap of faith. You won't regret it. Yeah,
that's good. How about yourself, Jeremy?
For me, it's the most recent one, and it's the mantra I've tried to live with for this whole year, and I wish I'd learnt it as a 10-year-old. Done is the new perfect. You don't need all the lights on green to be able to go forward.
That's a good one, yeah.
Thank you. Done is the new perfect.
That's a good one. I wish I'd thought of that one.
It's a game changer for me. Raheem, it's a game changer. I used to need everything. I used to need a trigger puller. Just do it.
Yeah.
That is something that we've really lived by, actually, isn't it? Done is the new perfect, yeah.
Brilliant. Who is your favorite sports star?
Can it be current, or can it be historical?
Doesn't matter. It could be historical, current, whoever it is.
I'm going to come straight in with Johnny Wilkinson. Just because.
Mine is a cross between Ian Botham and Martin Johnson.
Fantastic. Okay. Looking back at your 18-year selves, what would you have done differently?
I think at 18, I was so easily kind of directed into what I did, and I went straight off to university. And I think now, knowing what I know, I would be taking a break. I'd be going traveling, and I'd be really working out what it was that I wanted to do. And I think at 18, you don't know, do you? So my advice to myself at that point would be, take some time and really think about it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. How about yourself, Jeremy?
I would have liked to have learnt about money pots, about actually living off 50% of what you bring in, and actually having a financial freedom pot and an education pot and a savings pot and a play pot, something that you can burn without feeling guilty. And I wish I'd learnt about that. And if you could give me just a second one, I wouldn't have gone to university.
Brilliant. Okay, I like that. I like that. What was your inspiration growing up, Ginny?
I'll go. What are you thinking?
Yeah, go.
Go for
Ian
it.
Botham and Martin Johnson.
I think my inspiration were probably my teachers. Actually, I had a lot of inspirational teachers at school, and I think that's probably why I ended up doing what I was doing, because I was really inspired by, particularly two teachers who I just thought were wonderful and had such a fantastic, warm, open, giving side to them. And I think they said to me once, "Oh, you'd make a good teacher. You'd be a good teacher," and that's kind of why I went with that. So yeah, they inspired me at that point to do what I did. But having looked back, I might think more carefully about it. But I don't regret doing what I've done. It's given me a lot of joy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a journey, isn't it? That's what
absolutely
makes it unique.
Yeah.
Okay, your biggest regret, Jeremy. Your biggest regret.
I don't regret anything now, Rahim. I look back, and what I would have done differently is, if I'd had my property education previous to 2007, I wouldn't have gone back to teaching.
Fantastic. Okay. How about yourself, Jenny?
Biggest regret? Yeah, probably just not being more open to other ways of doing things earlier on, and probably being quite closed and quite traditional and quite, this is the way that it's got to be done, and just not being open, not looking for other opportunities.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with you?
I know that there are a lot of people out there that think that they have this limiting belief that you need money to get into property, and that's the biggest one. It's like the entry level, and that's why I say education, massive action, mindset are the three biggies. Get yourself educated, and it's like the know, like, and trust. I can tell members of my family you don't need money, but they can't hear it from me. When they speak to my business partner, they go, "Oh, seriously? Yeah, I didn't know that. I've been trying to tell you that for 5 years." Do you know? And I don't know what it is. It's like, as growing up, sales was a very, very to be a salesperson in my family was to be, you know, it was looked down upon, and it was, the connotations were you were trying to get one past somebody, and there was almost the illegal side of it. But understanding that we're selling to each other every minute of every day, do you know, and this, you need to have this know, like, and trust. Do you know, it's just, there's so many people that have that wives' tale, that whatever you want to call it, the limiting belief that you need money to get into property. You really don't.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It's a recent example happened to me. Someone approached me over here. I want to go into the mentorship program. I haven't got money. Money is my price. Listen, money is your least problem, bro. You need to know what you need to do, and then you worry about the money later. He said, "Okay, no worries." He went about, I think about 3 or 6 months. He came around, jumped onto the mentorship program without any money. His first deal I helped him get, basically, he had the deal without putting any of his own money down, right? Without doing anything to the property, until he started making money. And then he went out there and told lots of people about, actually, you're absolutely right. It's not about the money. It's about knowing what you need to do or who to tap into to help you get you to where you want to go. So I really, really relate to that. And myself, that's how I started. I was told I needed 50 or 60,000 pounds to start investing. So that then put me off. I said, you know what, I'll go to uni, finish my degrees, get a job and save. Only to bump into a video that tells me I don't need any money to start. And I did exactly that. I started from zero to now building a multi-million pound property investment portfolio. So again, it's not about the money. It's about knowing what to do or who to tap into to get you to where you want to go. So I really, really relate to that.
Well, I'd go further. If I had £50,000 and that's all I had in the world, I would certainly look to invest some of that into my own education to start with. Absolutely. And you can get, all the information is out there on YouTube. You can find it for free. However, do you know, it's the know, like, and trust again. And there is a lot of stuff that's not accurate out there. And it's knowing what is and what isn't. And some people need a little bit extra hand holding. Other people need, do you know, who knows what they need? Ginny's nodding because she's a teacher, but not for much longer.
Right. Okay. Yes, Jenny, then would you like to add on to that a little bit? No, or you okay?
About disagree? No, I think people would probably disagree that actually giving up a career is a wise thing to do, to go into something that they may not understand fully. And I know that was certainly the case maybe 2 years ago when I had a practice run at giving my notice in and leaving my job before COVID. But I think now people that are close to me and my family are actually much more open to it now, and much more, oh yeah, no, that sounds great, good for you. And so I think they've come from a place maybe of disagreement and fear to actually thinking, yeah, sounds great, go for it, do it, enjoy it, you only live once, kind of thing. So that's been really positive.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that. What is the best book you ever read or listened to, Jenny?
Oh, Jeremy's going to laugh now, because I'm a great starter of books, but not a great finisher of books. And I just need to remember the name of a book that I read, and it was by a lady called Jennifer Sincero, and it was called, I can't remember what it's called. I will Google it while you talk to Jeremy about his best book, because yeah, this was a really good one.
On to you, Jeremy.
It's a no-brainer. I've got hundreds of audio books on there, but Rich Dad Poor Dad was the starting book for me. It was the thing that got me moving. And Raheem, on a note, I get quite emotional when I say this, but I can hear my grandfather talking through Robert Kiyosaki, and it was almost like, wow, maybe they were the things that he didn't get a chance to tell me. And it was just an awesome book. Recommend it to anybody and everybody.
Yeah, I love that book as well. I read that book. That book's also shining light into my investment, because I think that was one of the books I read as well, because it tells you about active and passive income, and is contrasting two families that are exactly opposite, and how they will both go through that journey, and they both end up getting a different result. So I love that book. That book taught me about money. It taught me how you could actually make your life better whilst adding value to people.
Can you remember, Raheem, what the profession of the poor dad was?
I think I remember, but not at the top of my head right at the moment now.
I can tell you he was a teacher.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, just saying.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, Jenny, do you remember the book?
I do. It was called "You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life."
Whoa, that's amazing book.
It's a classic. It's a classic book. It's very, very good.
Brilliant.
Very inspirational.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Does money change you?
Yes.
How?
Yes. I think it can make you, and as someone said this, it can make you the best version of yourself if you use it wisely, because you can help people, you can make other people's lives easier, you can make your life easier, you can have options, you've got choices.
Fantastic.
And I think that changes you, because I think it enables you to be more open and to live a more fulfilling life, but only if you use it wisely.
Absolutely.
And you share it.
Yes. Does money change you, Jeremy?
It exaggerates exactly who you are. And if you are somebody, I'm not saying a bad person, but if you are chasing that ace and you just focus on it, it will just exaggerate who you are. And I go back to the pots. The pots was a game changer. And I first heard that from Samuel Leeds. And of course, Samuel Leeds very openly said, this isn't from me. This is from years ago. This is from the richest man in Babylon. This is whatever it came from. But just to be able to focus and have a giving pot, and to be able to give a certain percentage of what you bring in, and that it doesn't matter if it's 1% or 10% or whatever you can give, but you are giving, I think is an amazing thing. And you know, when you said about one of the limiting beliefs was, so many people grow up thinking that money is evil, and they're told it at childhood, don't talk around the table about money. Don't you talk? No, don't you do that? And, oh my God, why? So I genuinely believe it exaggerates who you are, and if you're a good person underneath it, you know, It will help you do amazing things.
Good. Jeremy, does money make you happy?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives me all sorts of opportunities that I wouldn't have had before. And, those opportunities impact just not me, but my family as well. And yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. How about yourself, Ginny?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the opportunities that it gives you. And I think Jeremy's saying about family, I think that's big for both of us. And it would be something that we would both love being able to spend our money on, is our families and friends.
Fantastic. Jeremy, is there something you used to strongly believed and you recently changed your mind on? That's a good question. I like that question.
You've got me on that one at the moment. That I used to believe. Yes. I genuinely believe that you could become, right. There's two parts to this answer.
It's going to be a long story, isn't it?
No.
Summarize it.
Get there. Okay. I used to believe that you can become successful on your own. And I genuinely thought that if you just work as hard as you can and, you can drive on and I get caught with the conflict of whatever it takes to actually enjoying the journey. And I genuinely used to believe that you can achieve greatness on your own. However, I know now that to be able to scale a business, you need people and good people around you, either mentoring you or working with you, or you leveraging their time.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Ginny?
I know I've spoken a lot about my recent kind of change of mind and of mindset in terms of leaving my job. But and that's come from the fact that I used to believe very much that was it until I retired. That was it. That's where my skills were. That's what I was good at. That's what I would end up doing, that I wouldn't be able to do anything else. And I just don't believe that at all anymore. I very much believe. Very
Fantastic.
Much believe there is a wide world out there.
Doing that.
Absolutely. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Okay. Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you would like to change?
Yep.
Go for it.
We've got to bring financial literacy into schools. We've got to support and I understand why the government doesn't want it in there. And I understand that. Why wouldn't you just want people living on 100%, 110% of what they bring in? And, get into debt and bring financial literacy into schools. I love the fact Jamie Oliver brought in he tried to help with diet and, health and nutrition. And he worked so hard. And, I'm not even sure where that's gone now, but with the basics of financial literacy. There's no
Twizzlers anymore.
Thank you, Ginny. But financial literacy, for me, that is fundamentally wrong.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. Ginny?
I can't add to that.
Okay. Brilliant. Fantastic. This podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint. What does Property Investment Blueprint means to you, Jeremy?
You asked me about
tough for these questions.
You asked me about deal sourcing and the difference between that. Every investor is different. They have a different strategy. They have a different strength. They have a different patch. They have a different way of thinking. And the property investment blueprint for me is getting the fundamentals of property investment right. Whether that's an education, that's learning about the different strategies to enable you to make a choice going forwards on where you want to go with property investment. I know it took me a long time to stop chasing shiny objects, and getting that blueprint, getting that focus, getting that drive of, okay, you're going to become a deal sourcer. Why? Because a deal sourcer is where you're going to start to earn cash quickly, and you can start putting that into your own investments. That's what it means to me. Raheem.
Fantastic. I like that. Thank you. Jenny, do you have anything to add on to the blueprint question?
No, I mean, I only to say that I think of the blueprint is all about is establishing systems and routines and rules and
Good work.
thank you.
Brilliant.
That's what you're going to bring so much to our business. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. The Ginny blueprint.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. Right. Final one. Okay. If there is only one person you'd love me to interview, who would that person be and why? Jeremy.
Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah. There is, and my answer is short, it's going to be Richard Branson, because I find him, and I'm reading or rereading one of his books at the moment, and I just empathize completely with, oh my God, every hurdle was chucked at him. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know, every hurdle you can imagine, but all people see is the Richard Branson with the billionaire. That's all they see. They don't see any of the stuff that he had to work around. He had, you know, and for me, Richard Branson would be. And Raheem, if you're going to sign off here now, I'd just like to say thank you so much, because I find you very inspiring. I find your energy absolutely infectious. You know, I love it that you got in touch and asked us to come on here. And we're really excited about the journey, and you would love to come back in a couple of years' time and give you an update.
No problem at all. So yes, I really like the Richard Branson answer there, because I've seen he's impacted so many people, the businesses he's impacted, the people that literally see him as a role model and coach. And he started his obstacle at the age of 5. His dad or mom, I think, put him in a bicycle, throw him somewhere, ask him to cycle back home because he was so nervous, shy. That was his first obstacle, basically. So he was able to overcome it. So literally he was on that since the age of 5. So I really, really relate to that. In the property world, who do you reckon would be the best fit for me to interview? Yeah,
it's a bit controversial, but do you know, I think Donald Trump is, as a business person, is very misunderstood. And actually, I would be fascinated to, and I've read books about Donald Trump, and do you know the way he acquires ownership? He controls property, and do you know, he works on adding value to properties, and the way I've heard it described. And Ginny and I was at a property event last week, and you know, his name was brought up. And actually, I think he gets a very bad press. Actually, I think a lot of people say he was given the money. I think he was a very astute businessman. And I think actually, if you could get Donald Trump on, I think a lot of people could learn a lot of things.
Fantastic. I'll try to get them both on board. Definitely, I'll try. I'll do my best. So yeah, I think Donald Trump is misunderstood. He's one of the people that lots of people misunderstood. He took his dad's business to the ground, to the next level. And he's one of those biggest lease option agreement property investors out there. So I commend him for what he do, and he's doing absolutely amazing in his business side of things. So when it comes to business, he's an amazing person to actually look up to. I've read all his book, I've listened to all his audiobooks, etc., etc. I think he does amazing. So yeah, I'll look forward to actually sending him an invite. Hopefully I'll be able to get him on board. Right? So what an amazing way to actually end this program. It was a great special moment to have you both on board, and thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been really good.
Yeah, where should we follow you, and where are you hanging out in social media? Say someone wants your services, like your deal sourcing, your HMO things that you're doing, or your business, want to join venture or partner with you. Where are the best places people can contact you?
Well, I'll do the old school ones, because we'd love to see. You can go to sewenaproperty.co.uk, which is our website. It's a Cornish word, Sewena, and it means health, wealth, and prosperity.
Fantastic.
And you know, with the new merger company, it's Apex Lettings in Northeast Lincolnshire, and the aim is that we're going to provide an end-to-end service up in Northeast Lincolnshire, and then we're going to duplicate the model down in Cornwall and expand what we've got working from there. Ginny, I think, is the resident expert on social media.
So much of an expert. Facebook, Sewena Property, Facebook or Instagram. That's where we are. Find us.
Fantastic. You have truly been an inspiration to me. I hope you've also inspired our audiences. So all I could say, thank you so much for sharing your life passion with us. We really, really appreciate it, and we look forward to actually seeing your journey to the next level. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Raheem. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.